Hi, my name is Aniqa and I'm a trainee sports journalist at Social Sports Group. This is my week one blog video, just to sort of record how I've been getting on or what I've been up to. First off, I was really lucky, really happy with the topic that I got, which was females in sports. I feel like this was something that I could definitely connect with. I got to do a lot of research, especially with This Girl Can, which is something that's so inspiring. So just seeing the changes that they have made, the statistics, that was amazing writing these articles. The three topics that I chose was, so the four topics in total. One was to do with mental health and physical activity. And that's something that I know someone who's personally affected by it, actually someone who are personally affected by it, and one of them agreed to speak to me about it. So just highlighting that and the positive impact that sports can have on your mental health was really good. Another aspect that I was really keen to write about was periods and your physical activity. Again, something that's very much obviously a female issue, but that has affected us for so long, and we tend to ignore it and just try to carry on as if it doesn't affect us, but it very much does. It does make a difference, and learning how to deal with it and process it really changes your attitude towards sports and towards doing sports while you're in your period. Finally, I wrote a piece on how to get back outside, during COVID times. I thought this is something very current. I know a lot of people who, despite the gyms being open, are hesitant, aren't sure this is the right time or the right decision for them right now. So just writing about the steps that you could make. So if you chose to go back to the gym or any outdoor club or activity, the easy ways you could do to lower your mental stress and just be as prepared as you can. And finally, I wanted to chat with several women who are, either working full-time, lead busy lives, and how COVID has affected their physical activity. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the number of women that I wanted. I think part of it was just I got a little bit of a late start in the week because, when you're coming into it, you're a little bit unsure. You're trying to do everything, but you do think to yourself, am I doing this right? So I think with those questions, your work is much more slow. But towards the end of the week, everything was sort of coming together. I could see, all the research that I had done. Okay, the articles are taking shape. They're all, my goals are achieved. But unfortunately, I couldn't get the number of people that I wanted to interview. And I wanted to interview real women who work, lead busy lives, and are managing to somewhat do their physical activity, or even are trying to do physical activity, or even if they were cut off from doing their physical activity since COVID-19. I wanted some different perspective, but unfortunately I only got one, but she was amazing. And we got to chat and she told me how it had differed, and I made a little podcast with it after speaking to Marlon, who's been guiding me and instructing me if there's any questions. I've been going up to him. I feel confident enough to manage on my own, but I feel because a lot of it was left towards the end of the week, I think going forward next week, I'm going to try and balance the workload a little bit better so it doesn't pile up on me, come Thursday, come Friday. I want to be, okay, everything's ready to go towards the beginning of the week as much as I can, and just polish things off on the last day, I think, because otherwise, this week I felt very rushed almost. I think that was the only negative that I would say in terms of managing my workload. I felt very much in a hurry because Monday and Tuesday was almost like calling up and researching, finding stories, ideas that I could do. And maybe it has rushed me this week somewhat, but for next week, I definitely feel more prepared. I already have ideas for stories. So it's been really amazing. And I'm just loving it so far. I think it's almost like, yes, I've studied this at university. I'm a Kingston University graduate. I've studied this there. But now realizing it and putting it in a practical application, especially since my degree itself is not journalism, it's creative writing and publishing. So yes, the skills are the same, but this is the first time that I've made a podcast, I've never done that before. So I was like, okay, I can do this. You do have these skills. So it's just the confidence of, even if what you don't know, do the research. The information is there. And that's what I've done. I've kind of try to take lead and not rely on Marlon too much for anything unless I specifically need him. I think for me, that would personally help me with my confidence to think to myself, yes, I can do this. And I guess that's what I've seen this week, that I can actually do it. And it's been amazing. So hopefully I'll have some interesting and new stuff to share next week, and, you know, lots more to learn, and I'm looking forward to that. Bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Aniqa and I'm an intern at Social Sports Group. I'm a Kingston University graduate, and this is my week 2 vlog of just sort of talking about what I've done this week and reflecting on it. Almost, I'm kind of starting to think of these as my critical essay almost. So this week I was also concentrating on a women's issue, women in sports, particularly from a BAME background. I feel like I'm really finding my feet in this. I'm really understanding what I need to do, how I need to process. The one thing that I do feel I still struggle with is something that Marlon actually told me right at the start, which was to contact as many people as possible, because sometimes people do pull out or things do change, and this is something that I feel like I need to work a little bit more on. Particularly for my podcast, I wanted 2 people, so I would have conflicting, or even, you know, they could agree on, but 2 different opinions almost. And because of me, you know, only contacting a limited pool, I was only able to get one person, Cherise Sullivan, who was amazing, but I would have liked another person as well. So that's something I feel going forward I'm going to be more particular about, making sure if I need 2, at least, like, you know, 10 a minimum is going out, not like 5 and me thinking, okay, that's enough. Another thing I think would be, I'm really happy with this week because I got some really professional athletes to actually get back to me and agree to be interviewed for my podcast and article. And also the organisation called Parkrun got back to me. So far all of my interviews have been through networks that I've already had, women that I already know through my either other jobs or through other social groups, who've got in touch or who've responded to my request for interview. But these 2 coming up next week, I've got 2 podcast interviews to do that are actually through me connecting as a total stranger to them and requesting and getting a positive response. So that's been amazing, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. In terms of topic, I think, again, like I said, it's women, but this time I'm looking at it from a different angle, more as in your confidence, your body, and how physical exercise can help that. And also not to fall into the marketing agenda that we often see, where, you know, at certain times of the year, for example, during the summer, you know, you feel like your body needs to look a certain way for you to be able to go out. So I wanted to address that with one of my articles. And I also got to this week attend my first webinar with the sports group, which was really, really interesting and also really knowledgeable. I learned a lot of new things about how these organizations are collaborating going forward and how in touch they are with each other, and using government guidelines, yes, but also looking at what other organizations are doing and taking all that knowledge together to run a program. So that was really, really good. And I searched, I wrote an article about their new campaign, it sounds amazing to me now, and I'm really looking forward to see what they do and what stories come up with that. So yeah, it's been a great week and really enjoying it. Marlon does keep in touch with me, and he does always want to make sure, you know, he's there to provide support should I need it, and really helpful, so that's great. But at the same time, he lets me be independent, which I do really appreciate. Sometimes I feel with writing, it takes a while for you to get into the right zone, even if you have, you know, I spend a little bit of time at first doing the research, gathering all the data before I start writing it down. So I feel like him trusting me to get on with it independently really lets me get on with it in my own way, at my own pace. And of course, as long as I'm delivering on deadline, he's happy, and I'm happy because I'm, you know, doing a good job. So that's great. And I feel it's definitely more, you know, I'm more confident. I know exactly what I'm doing now, and I'm just getting on with it. And just not only thinking about this week, but thinking about what I could do next week, which for me is great because I'm already ahead before I've even started. So I'm loving that part of it as well. And yeah, I look forward to next week and how things will go then. Okay, bye. Hi, my name's Aniqa and I'm a trainee sports journalist at Social Sports Group. This is my week 3 vlog diary. Week 2 has been definitely very, very interesting compared to how much work I did in week 1 and 2. This week I'm working on creating 3 different podcasts and on top of my normal articles and stuff, and one of those was very interesting. It was a different topic from what I've done in the previous week, which was BAME women in sports and their participation. And this week one of the podcasts is regarding youth participation and how we can put that in early and get kids started to a healthier lifestyle at a younger age, and articles on all of these topics. And it was really great and interesting, and especially the podcast itself, because I got to speak to a lot more organizations and professionals rather than individuals whose experience with sports that I've been making podcasts on for the past 2 weeks. It also sort of went at a quicker pace, I felt, because I did have a lot to do. I think everything that I aligned, all the appointments that I made, they did kind of line up perfectly, and I was able to get these people at the right time. I've also become quite familiar with some programs to help me edit the podcast. I did download something new called Audacity, which I researched, which was a free program to edit your podcast. I did try to work on a new program, but I feel like I need to give myself a bit of time to get familiarize myself with it. Whereas the program that I'm using now, it's not specifically made for podcast. It does all sorts of video editing as well, but because I'm familiar with it, I'm still sticking to that for now, because I know easily, okay, what I need to use to edit this, what I need to make the voice lighter or lower. Whereas Audacity, which I did open up, had a lot of new things that I wasn't familiar with, and you can actually, my voice and the guest voice, I can edit it separately rather than as one format. So that's why I'm very keen to start working on that, because some of the time the connection's not so clear from their end, and I really want to turn the voices up. I can't do that without separating my voice from it, so I am keen to learn Audacity, which is my name, but that's what it's called. I did have a connection problem when I was interviewing one of the guests, which was really, really unlucky, and it made me rush a little bit. I felt a little unprofessional, but he was very understanding, which was great. But at the same time, I want to, if your connection keeps disconnecting, the flow of the interview doesn't go much better. You have to keep restarting, you have to keep, you keep losing your train of thought. So that wasn't ideal. But luckily, by the time the second interview came around, I had managed to use an alternative, because I was not prepared to deal with that again. And because of that, at least an hour additional editing I had to do because of the connection problems. Because at certain points he would be saying something and I would be struggling to understand, and the connection itself would be so bad that I would be wondering whether the audience would be able to make out what he was saying. So I did fix up a lot of it in editing, but unfortunately I had to cut out quite a bit of it because I was like, this is not usable, or this would not be enjoyable for the listener. So going forward, I think I would definitely have to make sure that I know in advance the connection I have right now is great. And generally my internet connection is amazing, but that was just an unlucky day that I was having problems. And yeah, the week's been great so far. Very busy, which I like. Lots still to do actually, and I'm just looking forward to next week as well, and getting excited to wrap this up and then get started on my project next week. Okay, thank you, and see you then. Hi everyone, for those of you who don't know, my name is Aniqa, and I'm a trainee sports journalist at Social Sports Group. This is my 4th week here. To be honest, it's gone very, very fast. I don't know where the time went. It went so quick. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning, what skills I need to develop more to be successful in my chosen career, and where I'm strong at and which points I need to work on a little bit more. So it's been a very much learning experience. And yeah, I've been loving it and enjoying it a lot, but it literally does feel like time has flown. It's almost halfway, and yeah, the time has flown. In terms of my work this week, I did an article that I'm really, really proud of, which is with Black Lives Matter, and I wanted to kind of incorporate it with Black History Month. I ended up learning a lot more and learning how related sports and politics are. So that's something that I'm very keen to put forward and, get people reading, because I enjoyed researching that very much and writing that very much. And yeah, it's been great. I've met my team as well, and they've been amazing. Other journalists and fundraisers, so that's been great as well. And it's also interesting to see different points of view when we're having discussions. So that's all for this week, and I look forward to when I do my week 5 diary and let you guys know what's going on then.
Hi everyone, my name is Aniqa and I'm a trainee sports journalist at Pulse Social. This is my week 5 diary. So I've been here for quite a while now and I've got in the hang of things. This week was really, really interesting. I got to interview Michael Hill from Rackets Cubed, and he's one of the trustees there. It's really interesting getting to understand the level of charity work and how it's spread out all over, the programs, the initiative behind it, and how well it's worked, how well it's running. And yeah, that's an interesting podcast I made. I also got to speak to Jas at London Youth, and that was a fantastic conversation as well. He was really passionate about what London Youth does for the kids and even what more that needs to be done. And that's an amazing podcast that I worked on as well. In terms of article, I've got something coming out for parents and youth, I suppose, because I wanted to kind of highlight with all the stigma I feel like the youth is currently feeling with, the increased numbers of COVID in youth and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of elaborate and be like, it's fine, go out, do your sports, you're doing social distancing. So, and get parents' take on that and how they feel with the young person in their life being outdoors and going to school, whether that's going to school or whether that's going to their sports club or anything like that. So I've had an interesting week, and I look forward to next week as well. It's been a great time so far, and my diary's getting filled up, so I've got a lot of interviews coming up as well, so that's exciting work. Thanks, bye.
Hi everyone. So for those of you who don't know yet, my name is Aniqa Khan and I'm a trainee sports journalist at Pulse Social Sports Group. This is my week 6 diary. It's actually gone really, really quick. I know I say this every week, but it still feels very much true. This week I got to interview Jack Petchy Foundation, and this was my first interview with having multiple people on at the same time. So that was a great new experience, and I think it was also a learning experience, because you have to really, when you're doing podcasts, you have to kind of feel when's the best moment to give your input or let the other person carry on, and how to get the conversation flowing. And especially when you have 2 people, that's amplified. So that was very, very interesting to do. There was a bit of unfortunate news that happened as well, but it's kind of like a learning experience for me, where I interviewed last week London Youth, and this week it was almost edited and ready to be sent off when the file became corrupted. And because I only had the 1 copy, I was unable to get it fixed, and I lost the whole podcast interview, which was initially over an hour long, and the edited version I had brought down to 45 minutes, but I lost the whole file, I lost everything. So that was hours worth of work lost editing, and that was hours worth of interview that was just gone. And it's very, very unfortunate, because it was a really great interview, it was a really lively discussion, and it caused me a lot of panic. So I think next time I will definitely have several copies of it on maybe even a hard drive. But it's the first time something like this happened to me, so I didn't really see that coming, and I'm not even quite sure how it got corrupted, because that's the only file that did get corrupted, so it's a mystery. In terms of articles for this week, I wrote about sporting drinks and the benefits of that, and whether youths in London who do partake in physical activity should be drinking those. And I think the answer is no. And that's what I forwarded in my article as well. Take your water, that's the healthiest thing to do.
And my other article was about birthday parties and particularly sporting events, because that's another side of Pulse Social where they do sporting birthday parties. So I kind of advocate that, but I didn't really push it towards Pulse Social in particular, but towards you know, how it's a good thing for parents to actually get kids to do sporting birthday parties, because it's more activities, it's more running around, you're making more friends, and it kind of takes the stress away from the parents as well, because there's a professional coach or somebody there to organize it for you. And yeah, it's fun, and I think grown-ups can join as well, so that was great. Yeah, that's all for this week. I've got some interviews set up for next week as well, and there's a particular article I've been looking forward to getting out there, and hopefully that pans out for next week. And yeah, really exciting stuff, and looking forward to making another one of these for next Friday. Right, take care. Bye. Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know, my name is Aniqa Khan, and I'm a graduate from Kingston University in creative writing and publishing. This is my week 7 diary. Yeah, I say this every week, but it honestly went way too fast. I still feel like I should have a couple of weeks left. As it was my final week, I wanted to get as much done as possible and make the most out of it. So I worked on quite a few articles that should be coming out in time. And in terms of podcast, hopefully I'll have 3 podcasts coming out from this week, which is normally higher than my average number of 2 towards the end. So fingers crossed that all works out. And some of the topics are really exciting for me. For example, BAME participation in extreme sports. This is something that I personally enjoy a lot. So for me to find out and see what, you know, as I go out, I don't see a lot of people of color in these sports. For example, I do scuba diving, and I don't see a lot of BAME participation in that. So for me to have a chat with other people who do these extreme sports, and these people of color who do not themselves see their representation in these sports, it's nice to have that chat and see what they're doing to make it change and give young people an opportunity to maybe try these activities earlier. So that's really exciting. And yeah, just talking about women's football and youth participation. I feel like all the topics at Pulse Social Sports really interested me personally, because I cared for these issues and I wanted to see this change. And as it's something that I've actively observed in my life, to see, okay, there's organizations, groups out there, obviously, who are doing the best they can to decrease that gap and get all people, regardless of their upbringings or disadvantages that they might have had, on an equal footing. It's great to see that someone's trying to bridge that gap. And yeah, I've been really happy working at Pulse Social. Marlon's been amazing. He's there every step of the way to guide us. I feel like I certainly learned from him, because there's some things that you, despite your educational background, until you're in a place of work, you know, you don't realize these skills are needed as much as you thought. I would certainly think my idea of communication, even though that's something I pride myself on, having good communication, but I feel like that's even more important than I realized. Certainly networking is right at the top. And just keeping up in time with your assignments and just tracking your own work, because I feel like I'm somewhat of a perfectionist. I want everything exactly as I like it, and sometimes I realize you have to let it go and leave it at the point you have it right now, rather than keep delaying it to that perfect moment that I think it's needed. So it's been a great learning experience. I've enjoyed it very, very much. And yeah, I'm looking forward to taking these skills somewhere else and see what I do with them. And fingers crossed. Thank you. Bye.